want to tell you a story about how we at Diageo have transformed sponsorship within our business, and ultimately with a view that this will inspire you with us to collectively look at sponsorships and the potential that sponsorship can have in the Irish marketing over the next, let's say, decade. I believe that Irish marketeers can use sponsorship even better, and we need to put our heads together to work on this and to unlock what I believe is huge potential for this discipline /tool. Diageo Ireland is potentially the biggest and largest investor in sponsorship in Ireland today. Some of the banks might challenge us on that, but I believe we are. A number of our brands have been upfront in this escalating charge into this use of this evolving tool. Diageo sponsorships have increased investment over the last decade fourfold, and our investment is very much strategically focused on a number of major platforms. And as you can see from the chart here, Guinness, involved in hurling, in rugby, in festivals. And in the festival area, we are involved in hundreds of festivals, but the main ones, Cork Jazz, Oyster Festivals, Galway Arts, and as I say, 100 of smaller festivals all around the country, taking us through from May until September. We're also involved in horse racing, and we're probably the biggest sponsor of horse racing in Ireland. The Galway races, Punchestown, Listowel, just to mention a few. Budweiser, we're involved in soccer with Budweiser, the World Cup, Premiership. In the golf area, Budweiser as well, European Open, Irish Open, and of course the Ryder Cup. In being part of a well-orchestrated strategic swing in our business. From a heavily trade-focused ad hoc within the mid-90s to a very consumer-centred strategic investment today. We spent a lot of time in the 90s and the early part of this decade learning about what sponsorship really can do for our business. Diageo Sponsorship 2006 is, as I say, driven by brand strategy, which is integrated with all the elements of the marketing mix right through the line. Be no different. But simply put, there's 4 stages in sponsorship activity management process. It's to define, develop, deliver and evaluate. And in define, it's very simple, it's activity brief and getting that brief correct. Develop is the ideas and the plans behind it. Deliver, execute and activate. And evaluation is simply measurement. 1 in 3 adults, aged 25 plus, named the Diageo sponsorship as the sponsorship that appealed most to them in 2005. This is from recent research by On-Site Sponsorship. John Trainer's here, and he has supplied me, thankfully, with a lot of information. Thank you, John. This may stir your emotion. I'm going to show you some hurling, some music in that. So I hope this will be, you will enjoy the hurling or the...
The Galway Arts Festival, Ireland's art festival. Supported by Guinness and Fáilte Ireland, July 11th to the 24th.
Sponsorship has a life of 7 years. Sponsorship can't be measured. That's something we hear a lot. And sponsorship is a cost. Full stop, it's a cost to the business. Before I go into the challenges, there's a couple of mindsets that I believe are commonly held mindsets. Advertising is sexy, advertising is safe. On the other hand, I believe that sponsorship is bloody hard work and sponsorship is uncertain. And that's mindsets that I believe are prevalent. Advertising expenditure globally, sponsorship is equivalent to 7.5% of that figure in 2005. The growth patterns show advertising at a plus 13%, but sponsorship is moving, growing in the right direction, plus 25%. But the main figure there is that sponsorship is 7.5% of the total advertising spent globally. Movement. Europe has an increase of 13% for sponsorship in 2006, but Ireland is the key. Ireland is plus 15 to 20% in 2006. That's the projection. and it's growing to 88 million. Those rules is that you must spend X amount against your rights buy. While we fully live by the need to back rights buy with real activation investment, an industry formula doesn't work for us. There is no set formula for spend versus rights. What is efficient for your brand is a much more important perspective to look at. But looking at ratios, you can see there in the auto business it's 1 to 2, in retail it's 1 to 2.5, telecoms 1 to 3, credit cards 1 to 3.5, and in the soft drinks, where all the money is, Damien, it's 1 to 6, and they are only guesstimates, I would suggest. An example of that would be in 2005, our hurling sponsorship, which is 11 years old, is still growing on all key measurements. Awareness is up, affinity scores are growing. And of our top 3 performing trade sponsorships, the combined life of those 3 is over 100 years. Jazz, we're involved for 25 years. Galway Races, 40 years. And believe it or not, the Galway Oyster Festival, we go back 53 years. However, today, measurements take a much more outcomes rather than outputs perspective. And at Diageo, consumer tracking has been developed around our sponsorship portfolio that parallels everything or anything that we do in advertising. And another example of that would be the Guinness All-Ireland sponsorship again. We renewed it in 2004, and the reason we built the evaluation grounded in the efficiencies derived from this consumer measurement. So we looked at everything and we came up with the solution very, very measured that it was the right thing for us to continue. The final and probably the most important barrier or hurdle is that sponsorship is a cost. We are on a mission at Diageo to continuously look for new ways to uncover returns that the business generate and attribute to the involvement in the sponsorship activity. What we call here our net cost calculator tool captures all the costs of the activity: fees, implementation costs, activation costs, and evaluation. What I ask you to do is look at that as a balance sheet. On the left-hand side you have the costs, on the right-hand side you have the returns. And this then gives you the net cost of the total sponsorship out of a shortened list of many costs that we have built into this net cost calculator. The Guinness Storehouse gets about 1 million visitors a year, and promoting the GAA's museum in the Storehouse is obviously a huge commercial benefit to the GAA, our sponsorship partner. Therefore, this should reflect in the cost side of our net cost calculator. We have a number of challenges that we would like to see our property partners get involved in. We'd like to see them invest in their own marketing, and the GAA are a great example. They have now started to spending around advertising around the championship. We'd like our property owners to develop in-house expertise around activation. If you think about it, it's their properties. They know how to do this better than anybody. And of course, we would like them to share research costs. And not alone share the costs, they have a huge amount of information. We'd like them to share that with us. And the other thing, we want to think big. Ireland is and should be the centre of excellence for sponsorship.